welcome to Nightjar. Welcome to Hennessy in collaboration with Nightjar and me, Dom Pipkin, broadcasting on a live Friday from Nightjar to everybody out there in the world. My name is Dom Pipkin. I'm a piano player from London, UK, and I kind of play a lot of music from New Orleans. And this evening we're going to talk about New Orleans and the music from that city and the piano players from that city. I said I'm going back home, T9A, to the land of the beautiful queen. I'm gonna go back home to my baby, going back to New Orleans. I'm gonna see my mom, my parents, cousin, and ma and pa. I'm gonna put my feet down on Bourbon Street and be there for the Mardi Gras. Yes, I will. I've been to Cuba, South America way. I've been to Europe, Mexico, it's okay, it was. Over in France, the chicks are so fine. But I'm gonna get my thrill below the Mason-Dixon line. I'm gonna go back home, T9A, never will I roam. I'm gonna get my fill of gumbo Philly, cause New Orleans is my home, yes it is. Oh yeah, going back home, T9A, yeah. I've been to Cuba, South America way. I've been to Europe, Mexico, it's okay. Over in France, the chicks are so fine. But I'm gonna get my thrill below the Mason-Dixon line. I'm gonna go back home, T9A, never will I roam. I'm gonna get my fill of gumbo Philly, cause New Orleans is my home. I'm gonna get some crawfish, jambalaya, red beans, and fried praline. I'm gonna get some loving that's gonna satisfy back home in New Orleans. I'm gonna get some crawfish, jambalaya, red beans, and fried praline. I'm gonna get some loving that's gonna satisfy back home in New Orleans. All right, everybody. I'm glad that everyone's here and that we're making some music together. If you want to come and say hello and chat away on Nightjar, come along and say hello. If you're on Instagram, we can't chat back to you, I'm afraid. So we can't chat on Instagram, but we can chat back and say hello to you and see if you've got any questions you want to ask on the Nightjar live Facebook stream. I've been playing piano in Nightjar for about nearly 10 years now, since it opened. Nightjar has been, and the Oriole Bar and Swift Bar are speakeasy bars in London, voted very highly, top ranking in the world, in fact, for cocktail bars. And they have live music every night of the week when open in normal times. And I play piano there. I play there with my band, Dom and the Icos, along with a host of fantastic British and international acts. We'd like to say thank you again to Hennessy for bringing these concerts to you guys at home. New Orleans is a city I've had a long connection with. I fell in love with the music from that city many years ago when I started to imitate the sounds of Professor Longhair. And through that, I discovered Dr. John and then James Booker. And we're doing this over 4 parts. So tonight we're going to look at the early world of New Orleans piano and where jazz came from. And jazz came from a lot of different things. It came from the world of Congo Square, the only place in the world where slaves were permitted to get together and carry out traditional dances and practices and rituals from Africa in a southern city in New Orleans. In Louisiana, named after the French Sun King Louis XIV. The state is named after him, and of course Orléans was a French colony and a French-speaking and connected city. There are a lot of famous streets in New Orleans. Bourbon Street, you may have heard of after the French ruling family, Canal Street, and this street, which used to form one of the borders of New Orleans' most famous and notorious kind of economies. The name of this street. Won't you come along with me down the Mississippi? Take a boat to the land of dreams. Roll down that river down to New Orleans, where the band's there to meet us. Old friends gonna greet us. We're all black and the white folks gonna meet. Heaven on earth, they call it Basin Street. Well, Basin Street is that street where all the high and the lowbrow folks gonna meet. Down in New Orleans, the city of dreams. You never know how nice it seems until you're back in New Orleans, yeah. Sirree, I can't wait to be where that welcome's so dear and free to me, and I can't wait to lose. I said, losing Basin Street blues, oh Basin Street. Street is that street where all the high and the lowbrow folks gonna meet. I said down New Orleans, the city of dreams. You never know how nice it seems until you're back in New Orleans. Yes, sirree, I can't wait to be where that welcome's so dear and free to me, and I can't wait to losing Basin Street blues. Aren't you glad you come with me down the Mississippi? Take a boat to the land of dreams. Roll down that river down New Orleans. Sometime back in the mid-1880s, a young man was born in the French Quarter of New Orleans on a street called Frenchman Street, speaking French at home with his French-speaking family. He was what you call a Creole of colour, and his name was Ferdinand Lamont. And he was a young, talented, sensitive boy who could play any instrument. He was exposed to the French opera house, and he listened to a lot of music. There's a lot of music in the city, all kinds of musical traditions that go way back. And there was always music in New Orleans. It was a city of pleasure and southern joys. And when he was a kid, he could play the guitar. He played the drums. He was one of the best guitarists on the block. But he didn't want to play the piano. And let me try and find this little moment from this book on his life. Ferdinand Lamont. He's talking about playing the piano here. He goes, there was a gentleman, well, he says actually, he didn't want to be called a sissy. I wanted to marry and raise a family and be known as a man among men when I became of age. So I didn't want to play the piano because the piano in his world and in his experience and in his circle was seen as an instrument for a lady and not a gentleman. He didn't want to play it until one day he heard, let's find his own words here. He goes, first of all, he goes, the gentleman that played the piano very well had bushy hair and looked effeminate to his mind. But then one day, at a party, I saw a gentleman sit down at the piano and play a very good piece of ragtime. This particular gentleman had short hair, and I decided then that the instrument was good for a gentleman, same as it was for a lady. I must have been about 10 years old at the time. That's young Ferdinand Lamont. And he's listening to a man playing the new craze of ragtime. Ragtime grew out of a cakewalk and grew out of a general increase in syncopation in music that kind of melds march forms and hymn forms with those sort of African rhythms that were just seeping into American culture. Cakewalk preceded ragtime, and ragtime preceded jazz. Ragtime, what does it sound like? It sounds a bit like this. This form of ragtime impressed young Ferdinand, and he became one of the best piano players on the block. And in a short space of time, his friends put him up to play in the Storyville district of New Orleans. Now, Storyville, bordered by Bourbon Street, which I sang about a little while ago, was the official red light district of New Orleans, and the area had been set out by a city alderman by the name of Sidney Story, who decreed that it should be controlled and legalized, and it was a very historical old area of New Orleans full of what they call sporting houses. The sporting houses were inhabited by sporting types who well, they were basically sort of the hustlers of their day, and the kind of the sharp dressers, and the I suppose we'd say pimps as well. I suppose we'd say that. There's something about the way they would carry themselves, the sporting types. And I've got this from this book as well. You should have seen one of those sports move down the street. His shirt busted open so you could discern his red flannel undershirt, walking along with a very mosey walk they had adopted from the river, called shooting the agate. And I don't know how to say that word. Agate. When you shoot the agate, your hands is in your sides with your fingers stuck out, and you kind of struts with it. That was considered a big thing with some of these illiterate women. If you could shoot a good agate and had a nice high-class red undershirt with the collar turned up, I'm telling you, you were liable to get with that broad. She liked that very much. It's like wearing your trousers sort of down, or twisted, kind of stylish clothing today. Young Jelly Roll was put up for a job in Storyville, which had been named after Sidney Story, was the gentleman who put the whole thing together. No one knew what to call the area he'd put up together, so they just called it Storyville, and that's where we get the name Storyville from. Young Ferdinand was hired, and he played nightly, completely unbeknown to his family, and he did very, very well. The tips flowed. The working girls loved him. They loved the music he came up with. He was writing new things, and he claims he wrote a song called the Whinin' Boy Blues from these days. Whinin' Boy, he said it was because he would collect all of the drinks that were left over by the clients, and at the end of the night he'd pour them into, or during the night he'd pour them into his special glass and drink his special wine. And he said this is why I was called the Whinin' Boy. But actually it's far more about getting it on. The whole scene was really kind of based around that. This is Ferdinand Lamont. I'm sure a lot of you know who I'm talking about, but I'm going to reveal his name in a minute. Ferdinand Lamont's Whinin' Boy Blues. Don't deny my name. I'm the whining boy. Don't deny my name. I'm the whining boy. Don't deny my name. Pick it up and shake it like stave and chain. I'm the whining boy. Don't deny my name. Oh, mama, oh, come take a look at this. Oh, mama, come take a look at this. Yeah, look at sis. She's on the levee doing the one-legged twist. I'm the whining boy. Don't deny my doggone name. Whining boy, whining boy, whining boy, whining boy, whining boy. I'm the whining boy, don't deny my name. Pick it up and shake it like Stephen Chain. I'm the whining boy, don't deny my name. I'm the whining boy, don't deny my name. Oh, I'm the whining boy, don't deny my name. In that bordello song, that sporting house song, Ferdinand sings about stave and chain. Pick it up and shake it like stave and chain. And stave and chain was like a stud at the time, and he was like the man, the ladies' man. And so he's referenced in that song. It comes to us. This music was the early part of the 20th century, you know, the first kind of decade when he was playing in these bordellos. And his name, Stave and Chain's name, has survived in this song to this very day and come along to us. My name is Dom Pipkin, and this is the Piano Kings of New Orleans, brought to you by Hennessy and Nightjar. All right. There would be elegant dances around New Orleans, quadrilles. Imagine the real old kind of, you know, the elegance, the old school elegance, and someone like Ferdinand and the new syncopated sounds coming to agitate that. And in his memoirs, Ferdinand tells us about taking the dance form of a very popular dance at the time and changing it from its elegance into something more syncopated. This quadrille would have sounded a bit like this. This is when you called the partners to the dance. You'd line them up, and there was this kind of refrain. It would go... put in some of this new syncopation from ragtime, and he changed it into something more like this. Let's have a listen to the whole thing. He kind of claimed the composition of it himself, but he's not the only person that did. It's typical of this man to have kind of claimed ownership on certain things. But he reckoned he turned this into what he called the tiger rag. Now, you know, for the scholars out there, there's people who will say this is Paul Whiteman, and this is other bands before Paul Whiteman, but Jelly Roll had a go. The tiger rag. Also famous for the tiger move. Something like the tiger rag there. Now, we need to find out who Jelly Roll, who Ferdinand became, and I've just given it away. He was playing in the sporting houses, and he was playing on a Saturday night until very, very late at night, and he by this time acquired some of the look of the sporting types. The red undershirt, the fancy hat, the shoes with a jewel at the end of them, apparently, from what I've read. And he was leaving work late on a Saturday night. He was leaving work, and his godmother, Mimi Péché, was going to church Sunday morning, and the two meet, and she meets young Ferdinand, and he's just come out of playing ragtime and the new syncopated sounds of stride piano in a brothel. And like the good Catholic head of the family she was, she disowned young Ferdinand on the spot, and he was out on his ear with no money and no prospects and nowhere to go. And he was very hurt by this and very lonely by this, and he decided to reinvent himself, and he took on the bordello sporting house name of Jelly Roll and Americanized his surname from Lamont and his French associations and his background to Morton, which had been a name in his family that went back a couple of generations. So he anglicized the surname to Morton and changed his first name to the very gangster kind of moniker of Jelly Roll. And the jazz legend of Jelly Roll Morton was born. The king of jazz, the biggest selling artist on Victor Records, and as he liked to tell people, the inventor of jazz. Not strictly true, but a coalescer of the jazz vapors into something vitally important. One thing that Jelly Roll Morton told the world was that if music didn't have that little Spanish, or jazz music didn't have that little Spanish hook to it, he called it the Spanish tinge, then it wasn't syncopated in the way that it should be. He didn't put that for every song, but he did stress its importance. The Spanish tinge is what we would call the habanera rhythm. You guys might know this one. That rhythm like that, the habanera rhythm. Now, that had a lot of popularity at the time, and Jelly Roll considered that very important to the syncopations of jazz. Let's have a listen to a full sounding Jelly Roll Morton composition that uses this to great advantage and great effect. This is a real proper sporting house bordello tune. This is called The Crave. My assistant's bringing me, thank you Mrs. Pop, a delicious beer to drink at this time, which I think is very, very welcome. Cheers to everybody at home. I hope you're enjoying the show. It's wonderful to be here. Some of you may be chatting back on Facebook. I can't see it at the moment, but if there's any comments that we feel we want to hear about, then I'm going to have them passed on. Any questions about what I've been saying, let me know, and I'll do my best to divert you away from the truth. Jelly Roll Morton, The Crave. That's my version of Jelly Roll Morton's The Crave with the Spanish tinge, setting up the world of piano to be prepared for all kinds of special, unique flavors that we're going to identify as New Orleans for years to come. This whole sound, this spills into it kind of misses out the middle age of the jazz age, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. But it becomes a flavor that turns up in the music of Professor Longhair, the music of Fats Domino, the music of Dr. John and James Booker, decades further down the line. I'm going to pause back and have a sip of my beer right now and mention that we do have the virtual tip jar going around tonight for this event. And it's kind of like, this is a new format for shows for us people, so us musicians don't really have gigs that we had anymore. So we've set up home studios with the fairy lights, and we're broadcasting to you, and we don't really have our usual kind of musical jobs going on that we used to have. So if you guys have got any spare change and you can see the virtual tip jar, please help out and please support musicians in this and any other streams that you see where people are doing this. If you've got something spare, dig in and send something over my way. And if you don't, please just sit back and enjoy the show. It's perfectly okay, and I fully understand. We've all been hit by this situation, and sit back and enjoy the music. You are most welcome to stay here and listen and enjoy. Please tell your friends, and please check out my Facebook page and the band's Facebook page. Jelly Roll was riding high, although he was a little sad and he was having to find his own way without his family. But the days of Storyville and the stride piano and the inventions of jazz and the Spanish tinge, they were all going to be kind of hit by some new draconian race laws. Goes all the way back. That's ridiculousness. People always seem to think there's some kind of difference, some kind of importance to this layer of humans, this bit here, skin. And all of a sudden, all races who were non-white were classed as the same. And funnily enough, this actually brought a lot of sort of jealousies and difficulties within the various black communities at the time. But most importantly, the American Navy decided that Storyville was no good for business and no good for the First World War effort. And so the days of the sporting houses, licensed sporting houses, and the wonderful hotbed, the hothouse of early jazz, and the exciting and thrilling developments were happening, was swept aside when Storyville was closed down in the middle of the First World War in 1917. And there's a movie from 1946 or 1947, and it stars some great jazz musicians, Billie Holiday, Louis Armstrong, and a lot of Louis Armstrong's band. The movie is called New Orleans. You can look it up. You can check it out on YouTube. I think there's a version with Italian subtitles. And it's kind of the story of New Orleans at this time. I mean, it's a love story and it's a story of a band as well. But it tells of the end of Storyville when it was all closed down. And it had a massive effect on jazz. Jazz musicians migrated. They left New Orleans in droves. They headed to Chicago to start new jazz scenes. They headed to Harlem. They headed, Kansas City. They headed west. And this kind of very special, the beginning, the playground was swept aside. This is a song from that movie, the movie New Orleans, and the name of this song is called Farewell to Storyville. Time queens from New Orleans who live in Storyville. Well, you sang the blues, tried to amuse, that's how you played paid your bill. You know what I'm talking about. Well, the law came in and called it a sin to have yourself a little fun. Police cop has made a stop. Now Storyville is done. Pick out your steamer, go pick yourself a train, slow train. Go pick your steamer, go pick yourself a train. They made you closer, they'll never let you back. So buy your ticket, or else you'll walk the track. No use complaining, blue sky follow rain. No use complaining, blue sky follow rain. So say farewell now and get you one last thrill. So say farewell now, farewell to Storyville. Oh, Storyville, oh, your old time queen. Pick your steamer, go pick yourself a train, slow train. Go pick your steamer, go pick yourself a train. No use complaining, blue sky follow rain. Cold, cold rain. No use complaining, blue sky follow rain. No use complaining, blue sky follow rain. Oh yeah. No use complaining, blue sky follow rain. So say farewell now and get your one last thrill. Your one last thrill. So say farewell now, farewell. Storyville. Well, you old town queen from New Orleans. It's a beauty, isn't it? Check out the movie New Orleans, and Billie Holiday sings it. She sings it like a proper singer. Hope everyone's having a good time at this special 4-part series, The Piano Kings of New Orleans. Me, Dom Pipkin, via Nightjar, brought to you by Hennessy. I'd like to play another song from the same movie. I think, I can't remember. You researched this, didn't you? Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans from the movie? Or you don't remember? No, I don't remember. I think one of these two songs is from the movie originally, and one of them was a standard that was already around. I think actually the Go Pick Yourself a Train song was around before the movie. I think this one was written for the movie. This is called Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans? I've been going back there since, I first travelled there with Morchiba. I played keyboards with the band Morchiba. And we travelled there on a crazy rock and roll tour back in 1998. And I dipped my hand in the Mississippi River. We were to get some good vibes, good musical vibes in my hands. And I've been going back there for many, many years. And I started going back there a lot after the disaster of Hurricane Katrina, and have been kind of making friends out there, playing out there, jamming out there, learning out there, eating food out there, getting drunk out there, and enjoying the hot weather. I send all my love and regards to everyone in New Orleans and across the world right now. This is called Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans? How's the time check? Spot?
You've got 10 minutes.
Ah, cool, cool, cool. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans and miss her each night and day? Well, I know I'm not wrong. The feeling's getting stronger the longer I stay away. Miss those moss-covered vines and tall sugar pines where mockingbirds used to sing. And I can't wait to see lazy Mississippi hurrying into spring. Moonlight on the bayou and Creole tunes fill the air. And I dream about magnolias in bloom. I'm wishing that I was there. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans? 'Cause that's where you left your heart. But there's one thing more.
miss the one I care for more than I miss New Orleans. Mighty couldn't fire you. Moonlight on the bayou, Creole tunes fill the air, and I dream about magnolias in bloom, and wishing that I was there. Do you know what it means? Miss New Orleans, 'cause that's where you left your heart. But there's one thing more, miss the one I care for more than I miss New Orleans. All right.
Says it all, really. The Hothouse in New Orleans. Plenty more to come next time I come here and play you music of James Booker, Professor Longhair, Dr. John, Huey Piano Smith, Fast Domino, all those kind of cats. If you're able to do something with the virtual tip jar, that would be amazing. Show your support if you can. If not, tell people about the show and let them know to come here and check in with me. I love to make your acquaintance if you're new, and it's great to be here playing music for you. This gives me everything that I need in life. I need to play. I need to play this stuff. It's very important. I've got live shows. My own live show is tomorrow night. That's Saturday, the 6th of June, on my Facebook channel. You can watch this on Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram now, hello. And on Instagram TV, on Nightjar and Oriole channels. We have to keep an eye on the time, don't we? And that's great. I'm going to play you one more little tune, and I'm going to head off home. I'm going to stay home, and I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful night and a wonderful evening ahead. This is called Giacomo Fina Hey. This is Mardi Gras Indian lyrics in music. Roll Morton used to watch these guys when he was a kid. That's the turn of the century. This was the... this is kind of... you call them tribes, really. Mardi Gras Indian tribes. And this is black communities who, when they were, say, freed from slavery, or when they ran away, they escaped, they were taken in by Native Americans who understood the problems they were having, and they learnt from Native American Indians, and they took on all kinds of traditions and sort of clothing styles. They would start to mask up and wear feathers. That's not uniquely from Native America, of course. That's also from Africa, and the tradition of masking is a very big thing that people had brought with them anyway. This is an opportunity to bring this back. The Mardi Gras Indians, they speak in a very unusual, sort of mysterious kind of language. They say, Giacomo Fina Hey, Huna Hey, Tue Pakewe, and most of this is not understood. But Huna Hey means bow down, for example. This is a song that a great American guitarist called Danny Barker recorded in the 1940s. This is called Giacomo Fina Hey, and it's one of the first examples of Mardi Gras Indian language and customs turning up in jazz music. If we have to fade on this one, that's cool. Yeah, it's called Giacomo Fina Hey. My name's Dom Pipkin. It's been great to spend time with you, and I hope to see you all again on part 2 of this great series. See you later.
Well, Giacomo Fina Hey, Giacomo Fina Hey, I had my fun on a Mardi Gras. I said Giacomo Fina Hey. Well, Mississippi deep and wide. Well, the Mississippi deep and wide. Sad, sad day when the fool jumped in. Said Giacomo Fina Hey. I said the monkey got a pretty face. Said the monkey got a pretty face. Take a good look in the mirror over there. Said Giacomo Fina Hey. Giacomo, I leave my wife alone. Said leave my wife alone. If I catch you, you'll be dead and gone. Said Giacomo Fina Hey. All right. Giacomo Fina Hey, Giacomo Fina Hey. I'm gonna wear my feathers on a Mardi Gras day. Giacomo Fina Hey. Everybody said the Mississippi deep and wide. The Mississippi deep and wide. Sad, sad day when the fool jumped in. I said Giacomo Fina Hey. Everybody, Giacomo. Giacomo Fina Hey. Shake 'em on down on the Mardi Gras day. I said Giacomo Fina Hey. Oh yeah, I'll see you all later. Thank you all very much indeed. Have a good night and look after each other.